moment, but we have Julie Lenarz, the Executive Director of the Human Security Centre, joining us now. It's an independent foreign affairs think tank. Julie, good morning. Can I ask you, first of all, before we talk about Syria itself, what you think events this morning in Paris say about security?
Well, we do know that one of the people who is apparently being targeted at the moment is the alleged mastermind behind the Paris attacks, Abdulhamid Aboud, and he is a well-known jihadist with the Islamic State. He's actually believed to be with Islamic State at the moment. Some people even said he was dead, and he was linked, to previous terrorist attacks. We know that he's been in contact with the gunman who shot 4 people in the Jewish Museum in Brussels last year. So the question is, how was this man able to go to Syria in the first place, and then even more so, how he was able to return to France and mastermind this attack? I think the French, law enforcement agencies, they will have a lot to answer for.
Except that I've been reading in today's papers, for example, that you can buy, for example, passports, a Syrian passport, if you want one, for 250 quid.
Yes, that's correct. There was one Dutch journalist who actually managed to get a Syrian passport with a picture of the Dutch Prime Minister for the right amount of money. You basically get everywhere in Turkey. You get everything in Turkey. So it's not difficult at all to get hold of a fake Syrian passport.
Okay, let's move the conversation on, if we may, Julie, to what I was talking about a second ago. Now, David Cameron's clear that he wants to win over the Commons before committing to a vote. Should we, the United Kingdom, be intervening in Syria?
Yes, absolutely, because I think one of the major mistakes we've made so far is to focus only on Iraq, because we have to remember the Islamic State is based in Syria. Its de facto capital is in Syria. The assault on Iraq was planned in Syria. Everything links back to Syria, and we cannot contain, let alone eliminate, the Islamic State if we are not targeting Syria and get the situation in Syria under control, because in many ways it's much more serious than the situation in Iraq.
But how would you actually get things sorted in Syria without having boots on the ground? You can't just keep on bombing from the air, can you?
No, that's what I've been saying for a long time now. Actually, we have to understand that airstrikes alone will not solve this problem. And obviously, in some areas, especially the north of Iraq and Syria, we have made good progress with the Kurds on the ground. They are the most reliable partner we have. They are basically our boots on the ground. The problem is with the Kurds. They have no interest in sort of pushing beyond their historic borders. So you wouldn't be able to liberate Palmyra in Syria with the help of the Kurds. So what we are lacking really is a reliable Sunni Arab partner on the ground in Syria to take back land conquered by the Islamic State. And I think if the Prime Minister and the President Obama are serious about eliminating the Islamic State, we have to consider an element of ground troops deployment, maybe in the form of special forces or something.
Or the Syrian army, giving and allowing the Syrian army to do it, because they do have an interest in taking it to the Syrian border.
Well, the problem is obviously that our policy at the moment is that Bashar al-Assad needs to go. So this wouldn't be possible unless we reach a settlement with Bashar al-Assad, asking him, to step down, making way for someone else to take over, and then start afresh. This idea has been floating around for quite a while now, and we're getting nowhere. So I don't think that's a viable option at the moment.
Okay, well, we managed in London to have the football game at Wembley last night, and I think it has lifted spirits, is perhaps a kind of trite way of saying it, but it has done many people a lot of good in the grieving process. However, Germany against Holland, remembering that Germany were playing France last Friday when the suicide bombers tried to get into the match, they cancelled the game because of security fears, which I guess plays straight into the hands of the so-called Islamic State, doesn't it?
Well, yes, obviously what they try to achieve is to disrupt our lives and to create a climate of fear and mistrust, among communities, among citizens and government. They play it every fault line they can find. But as far as I understand, the German authorities have had a very clear threat. They believed that, an attack was imminent. and the security of people must take precedence over everything else. So if they had concrete information that somebody or a group of people were planning an attack on the stadium and wanted to blow themselves up, then I believe the German authorities made the right call in calling the game off.
Thank you very much. That's Julie Lenarz, the Executive Director of the Human Security Centre, an independent foreign affairs think tank.